Nigeria has raised the curtain on its participation in the new Intra-Africa Trade Program earlier this week. This as the government officials and the head of the AFCFTA, Isemede, cut the ribbon on Nigeria's first shipment here in Apapa, Lagos. We're going to dig in some more on this and related trade matters as we welcome our guest, Mr. John Isemede. He's an international trade expert and a former Director General of the National Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industries, Mines and Agriculture, or NACIMA. Quite an honor to have you here, sir. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. So we have a lot to discuss on trade. How do you feel about this first shipment that we've seen out from the Apapa ports for the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement? How are you feeling about that?
Very, very happy.
Yeah.
It has taken us almost 70 years.
Wow.
So the truth of the matter is that a lot of Nigerians don't know what we are and the situation on ground. I will take it from 3 levels. The first one is that we have to be very grateful to Segun Awolowo, who today has put Nigeria on the global map.
Okay.
In the sense that this agreement was signed about 6 years ago and nothing has happened. And there are 55 countries in Africa. 54 are members, except Eritrea, because you have to be a member of the WTO before you can become a member.
Right.
And all along, it has been government. The private sector has not joined the queue. So what Segun Awolowo did was a beautiful thing for us to do. In the first place, what we saw was 40-footer container for 10 companies going to 5 countries.
Okay.
We did not, the container was not open for us to see. I did not take the container number, the specific, or the listed, because it's a grouping container. And a 40-foot container can take only 32 metric tons.
Okay.
And if you divide 32, if it's create this and all that is average of 3 metric tons per company.
Right.
And it's going to 5 countries. From flour mills start to Algeria, then Egypt. If the ship has to go, it may likely go to the Netherlands first because it's a groupage.
Okay.
Then, if it's going through the Atlantic to Mediterranean, to drop the first consignment there.
Yeah.
Then go to Egypt, through the Red Sea to Kenya to drop that of Kenya, and because bitters is going to Uganda.
Okay.
Then the last one to Zambia, which may have to go to the port of Durban.
Yeah.
Because when you talk of network or infrastructure, you don't deal with Southern Africa. So taking one container is just to test the water. Because we are talking of a country of 230 million people.
Yep.
All right, I started export business 39 years ago. I started with 1 carton. Things fall apart. There were no banks.
Wow.
All right, by the time I moved to Unilever in 1990, my first shipment was 6 metric tons. Then I moved to Cowbell, it was 1 truck of 30 metric tons to Benin Republic. And when I now joined Dangote in 2004, 2005, my first shipment was 1 20-feet container. So for Awolowo to try this, we have to clap for him. The second one is that where are we coming from?
Right.
Because it has taken us almost 70 years. People will just think that this thing started yesterday. The answer is not like that. Because after the Second World War, because if you don't know where you are coming from, you won't know where you are going to. Look at the case of Dangote Refinery. Some of us will soon come out and tell the world that Nigerian investors and all that must be protected. Because after the Second World War, the first man to come out was the Prime Minister of the UK, Sir Winston Churchill, in the University of Zurich in 1945, that we must come together to form a formidable force. As they were doing that, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was in Ghana campaigning to be the first president of Ghana. And he was studying the situation, how he can align with the West. And it was on the on the 6th of March, 1957, that Ghana got independent. From that day to the present, to the time that first container was moved out of Apapa Port was 67 years, 3 months and 10 days. What did Nkrumah tell the people of Ghana? That industrialization of Ghana and the integration of Africa. That was his listed. He worked on. And the structure he built in Ghana is what they are still using today. All right, from 1957, what happened in 1958? Nigeria has not gained independence.
Yep.
And that was the year this thing was formed in Ethiopia, United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. And they said, all right, this thing based on what Nkrumah has said should be given to Nigeria. Nigeria population at that time was 43 million in 1948. Sorry, in 1958. Egypt was 18 million. South Africa was under the apartheid policy. Ethiopia was 20 million. It was given to Nigeria on a platter of gold in 1958. But when we got independent in 1960, what did we do? From that time till 1963, at the OAU meeting, now AU,
yep.
It was the same thing that was discussed about integration coming together. That was the single African market, which in 2012 became what we call today AFTA. After that, 63.
Yeah.
What happened between that to 1980? I won't ask you where you were in 1980. I wasn't
alive yet.
You were not alive.
I was later in the 80s.
I have completed half of my university education. When President Shehu Shagari had a wonderful get-together here in Lagos, the Lagos Plan of Action. And everything was put in place for Nigeria to take the lead. Take your younger brothers. There were more than 5,000 viable companies here in Lagos. The Nigerian Airways was flying everywhere, which we use. The Nigerian National Shipping Line was there. Shagari went further to acquire more aircraft from Toulouse, France, to promote this business. Nothing happened after Shagari. Then General Ibrahim Babangida came up in 1985. And that 1985, the first thing they discovered that the private sector were very vibrant and all that. That was how I introduced the MDAs. The MDAs were not for export activities or to go and be waiting for the people at the port or blocking road and telling us standards. They were set up to promote made in Nigerian goods. That they were to work with SMEs. They were to work in the farms to know the type of soil, the seedling and all that. Not going to the port and begin to pass entry and say this. And because when we have this rejection program, we don't see them.
Yeah.
All right. The next thing General Ibrahim Babangida did was the 1991 event in Abuja. That time, Africa had 51 countries. The youngest country that time was Namibia. We were all together in Abuja for 3 months. That was, Nelson was already in our system. That was the issue of EcoBank came up. That was when the issue of Nexim came up in this. That some people were redeployed from Nigeria to go and open the office in Egypt. Has it not been a blessing to all Africans? All right, if you look at now the scenario, let us now move from that 1991.
Yeah.
All right, General Abacha was involved. In 1997, the ACEEC trade fair in Kaduna on the way to Zaria, it was all on the African Continental Free Trade. After that of Abacha, we heard of NEPAD. The role General Olusegun Obasanjo played is equally there. By the time we left there, this thing became now a free-for-all. Where we had the first shock or the problem was 2017, when the minister at that time almost rubbish what Agaga has put on ground with us, when we rejected the EPA and all that. The next thing was that they formed a committee of 20 members. The 20 members, the OPS were not recognized. They put us at the edge of the table.
That's the organized private sector.
The organized private sector.
Right.
The government took over business in Nigeria. The OPS became orphans. That was in 2017. By 2018, they said they were going to Kigali, Rwanda to go and sign the agreement. That was when Bosi Omofaye and myself went to your sister station. What is Mr. President going to sign in Kigali? I spearheaded it that the Nigerian government should not sign. Which product have we developed?
Right.
Can we compete with South Africa? South Africa has South Africa Airline. We have liquidated our own Nigerian Airways. Can we compete with Morocco? Now, as we are talking, Nigeria is now number 4. We may even slip to number 5 because the 35 million people in Morocco will soon be 230 million in Nigeria.
You're talking about the largest
economy.
Right? Yeah.
Then, I told the president, there is nowhere in the world, President Buhari, there is nowhere in the world where government does not listen to sensible suggestions. Which product have we developed? China did not colonize 1 inch of Africa. They are able to beat chains. They are exporters there, they are importers. We have Chinatown. Who is going to receive Nigerian products?
Good question.
You are going to this. ECOWAS Secretariat have been in Abuja for 49 years. 45 or 40 years at that time. What have we achieved in ECOWAS at this level that we are talking of Africa Continental Free Trade? How are we going to engage? It was during that period that our mommy was contesting to be the WTO.
Right.
Nigeria has no national carrier. Nigeria has not developed any market. We have suffocated ourselves by closing border. So, why are we going to say? Because most of the people in Kigali that night went there in their own national carrier. And the gentleman who called me from Kigali said, I have spoiled their pot of soup. I said, which private sector is there that I have now spoiled? He said, I asked Mr. President not to come. I said, yes. I apologized to Mr. President. I told him that there is nowhere in the world where government does not listen to sensible suggestions. You are there, have you been to Apapa Port? I have crossed the continent of Africa by road. I have carried goods from here by road, from here to Senegal, to Algeria, everywhere. There was a night I slept at the border between Algeria and Niger. What have you done? When government is selecting people to sign agreement for Nigeria, we are getting people from the ministry and parastatals, which has not taken us anywhere. By 2018, government now, we did not sign, then we went to Niger. My friend, who is a professor at Lagos Business School, you may know him. From here to Niger, I asked him, could I be better from here to fly to Kebbi State? He went to the airport, he flew from here to Togo. Togo to Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire to Mali before coming to Niger.
Wow.
How many kilometers from Kebbi State, from Kamba to this state? So I now asked him, even if we have to do this business, is that how we are going to do it? Because it is cheaper to bring a container from Kenya. It is cheaper to bring a container from China than to take a container from here to Benin Republic. So what structure have we put in place? What is the contribution of the private sector that we are rushing this agreement? We are going to suffocate people. Some of us have done a lot in the area of multinational, and I can tell you the reason why multinational organizations are leaving Nigeria. So it's part of this agreement that when we now sign this agreement, we don't take the private sector along, so also we create problem. CBN will come and tell us what they don't even know. Like the RT200 that killed export business, that a lot of exporters went underground. That if I export and bring the money, CBN will take the money. But if I want to pay my shipping company charges and all that, you go and buy from the... we are running an economy of about 10 different exchanges. Where in the world do you see that? The second stage was that we now signed in 2019. 2019 to the present day, how many? Then the question now we ask the private sector, what have they done in 6 years? We have to thank Segun Awolowo. What he has done is like in a football match, you take kickoff. A 70, 90-year-old man can come to the stadium and take kickoff. It is now for the players to take over. So what has the private sector put in place? Organizing trade fair and trade mission and exhibiting 90% of imported goods in our room. Then you drag Mr. President out of the villa to come and declare a trade fair open. Where is that done in any part of the world? Let us use Benin example. We have seen it all. That is the first stage. That is the second stage. The third stage, we are talking of Africa Continental Free Trade, which started, single African market started on the 6th of March, 1957, under Kwame Nkrumah. Nigerian government said they are going to import maize in the 21st century. No local government has come out to tell Mr. President. Sometimes I sit down and look, how do leaders in this country sleep? We have 48 ministers. So also we have 36 states plus Abuja. There is no state and local government that cannot provide a maize. If we now say let us open LC, the banks will now come out to open LC because of the...
That's a letter of credit.
A letter of credit.
Yeah.
There are 12 different letters, different types of letters of credit. If we open it, then where is this maize coming from? Is it from Ukraine or is it from Russia? But Zambia, Malawi could have been easier because of the Sasakawa project under the former president of America, which is Jimmy Carter. To open SC and do this, you look at logistics and all that, may take more than 6 months. And with the rainy season and all that, some may even go back. It takes 70 days to cultivate maize. No local government has come out and said, Mr. President, the money you want to use to import maize, give it to us. Which institution in Nigeria training exporters that we can even engage Benin Republic? Nigeria at independence, we had no university. University of Ibadan was University College London. Today we have more than 250 universities. We have polytechnic, we have donor agencies. Go to NIFO. NIFO was established in 1939. Can we boast of NIFO? I went to Malaysia and cried back home. So if you now say you want to export, you want to engage, where are the export managers?
So essentially, we have not been ready. We haven't had the building blocks.
The government is ready. The private sector is not ready. That is where I'm coming to. All right. How many professors? Take your camera tomorrow, go to University of Lagos, go to LASU, go to government ministries and parasita, ask them about Africa Continental Free Trade. A lot of Nigerians don't even know what we sign. In trade, in international trade, you have PTA,
Yep.
you have FTA, you have CET, you have CU and CM. What we sign is FTA, Preferential Trade Area, and 30% duty reduction, Agenda 2063. The question now, I want to ask the private sector, the 90%, sorry, the 10% left, when are we going to reach zero? The last one is the private sector. Even at the launch, at that event, no private sector was on the high table. It was government affair all along.
That's not
That
healthy.
is not. Who
That's
is
not
going
good.
to?
Yeah.
All right. In the first place, when that committee was formed in 2017, I was the only person crying. I don't like this sitting arrangement. But the private sector was not ready to listen to me. They were fighting among themselves. What they were fighting for was that who want to be on government board. And secondly, they were now, one side was on the rule of origin. Certificate of origin was given there. Certificate of origin does not mean quality. Certificate of origin does not mean how it was produced, where it was produced, where it's originating from. Because if we bring Toyota into Nigeria, you are sending it to Kenya, the origin is Nigeria. So the final analysis,
Yep.
what, since the government signed in 2019, has the private sector organized a trade fair of made in Nigerian goods? All right. When we now talk of, where I'm praising Agaga, I'm praising General Ibrahim Babangida, I'm praising Awolowo, there are three simple things. When we went to go into ECOWAS ETLS in 1990, we approached General Ibrahim Babangida. This is what and what. The scope is that Nigeria cannot engage Gambia and tell Gambia not to take import duty. It was divided into 3 different groups. Nigeria to knock off import duty in 6 years. Or the second group in 8 years. The last group 6 years. That there were conditions that 60% of ABC must be there. Value addition must be there. Traceability must be there. That is why we have certificate of origin. So also movement certificate. Movement, there are some landlocked countries. I can export to Benin Republic by road. I can export to Gambia by sea. We did not see. Because if the private sector was on the table, we could have asked certain questions like listing. How do you differentiate cocoa from Ghana, from Nigeria? That is why when they say unprocessed goods must circulate freely, How do you identify the groundnut from Benin Republic different from that of Nigeria? But process like lock soap, Star Lager beer and all that, you can differentiate. Those are the questions we wanted to ask. So now I will continue to thank Awolowo. We have done that of yam. On the 28th of June, 2017, Nigeria, some group of people tried yam export. Nigeria produces 73% of the total yam requirement. And we are unable to. When the government, through this Segun Awolowo, my friend, did that, what has been the reaction of the private sector?
So going forward, Mr. Isemede, what needs to happen now to boost trade from Nigeria to the rest of the African nations? Is it you want the private sector to take a leadership role and be more developed?
Government, this is how you sign an agreement. When we did that of ECOWAS, it took us about 3 years.
Yeah.
And the first thing we told Mr. President, that General Ibrahim Babangida at that time, there's a law in Central Bank. If you export, you don't bring that money, you get the hammer. That was where EcoBank and other generation banks started. The second one is that government can go and negotiate. And when government is signing an agreement, you have to take the private sector
along.
Because Nigeria has signed more than 600 agreements. And now we cannot even compete with our neighbors. 2, we signed AGOA in the year 2000. We have failed woefully. And Obama saw it as a big embarrassment. It was extended to 2025, where in 2024, Nigeria has not recorded anything. By the year 1999, 2000, we put our hands in D8 countries. I was the DG of NASIMA. I was directly involved. Have we issued one certificate of origin? The certificate of origin we saw the other day, will the private sector tell us that they will issue one tomorrow for goods under after? Government will sign agreement and take it to the National Assembly in line with Section 12 of the Nigerian Constitution and involve the ambassadors. Those are supposed to be the marketing manager of made in Nigerian goods. How many ambassadors in Nigeria has targets? This is the letter I used to collect from Ministry of Foreign Affairs here at Marina.
Yes, 1994. Yeah.
That was just before I started collecting this type of letter during the time of Professor Sulu Gambari. All right, when you now go to such countries, the ambassador will provide what he calls minor diplomatic cover for you. And how did I travel by road from here to Senegal? How did I travel to Algeria? How did I travel to Darfur?
Yep.
Because the ambassadors were with me, the trade attaché. So whatever I incur, they put it in an envelope, my employer will pay. Manufacturers Association of Nigeria put a lot of money on ground, a lot of company. That was what we used to do the research.
Wow.
My brother, this is the guideline for importation into Nigeria. Where is the guideline for export?
That needs to complement that. When
we travel around on ECOWAS district, we even cover Cameroon and Chad because Cameroon is part of West Africa. Cameroon is not part of ECOWAS.
ECOWAS, right.
Yes. That's right from the 24th of July, 1833, under the principle of assimilation, Cameroon. Because my ECOWAS paper can take me to Cameroon. It cannot take a Beninois. All this we covered. When we finished, we invited the 16 ECOWAS countries. Come and this is what we use to run ECOWAS. What are we going to use to run after?
Excellent points, Mr. Isemede. Look, this former DG of NASIMA, this has been a very excellent, informative session. We'll have to bring you back because this is a continuing story about Nigeria's trade discussion as far as other countries are concerned.
I've been on it for 30 years, hand on.
Your experience speaks for itself. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.